Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay in the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
The Black and Gold Banneret podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty, proudly serving Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties. Call 407-790-9957 or visit WeSellOrlando.net. Welcome, one and all, to the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. My name is Jeff Sharon, along with Brian Murphy and Eric Lopez. Boys, it's the end of the UCF academic year. It's the end of the athletic year, and that means it's Bannie's week, baby. Here we go. We've got a lot to cover in this show. This is our nomination show. We're going to give you the nominees for all of our Bannie's awards, and then you, the fan, will have 1 week to vote on all of them. Guys, I hope you brought your tuxes. Are you well dressed for this red letter day, this tremendous occasion?
I have no idea what's going on.
The silence speaks volumes.
I got the same suit I had last year. Put it that way.
I've got my tuxedo T-shirt ready to rock. I mean, here we go. All right. So yeah, this is actually all right. So a little bit of background for you. We did this last year. It was a big success. And we're going to do it for you this year. Make sure you follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com for all the latest news, including your Bannie's nominations, and as well as a lot of other news that we're doing over the summer. Just because it's summer and no sports are happening doesn't mean we're not busy. In addition to that, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret, Twitter at UCF_Banneret. As well. Follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Sharon. Follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. And follow Brian at Spokes_Murphy. And you can listen to this podcast on Google Play, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. All right, so here's how we're going to do it. Like I said, this is our nomination show. We're going to give you the nominees for each of our awards. And I'm going to go over the awards in just a second. We're also going to, and then we'll discuss each award. Hopefully not for too long. This should be a fairly short show, but then we're going to put all of these up on Twitter polls. All right, so we're going to have a minimum or a maximum of 4 nominees per award. The Twitter polls are going to last a week, and then next week we'll actually dole out the awards. You, the fan, get to vote on this at blackandgoldbanneret.com. Follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. So here are the awards we're going to be giving out. We're going to give out Male Athlete of the Year, Female Athlete of the Year, Coach of the Year, Team of the Year, Comeback Athlete of the Year, Breakout Athlete of the Year, Senior Leader of the Year, which is a new one that we've come up with this year, Newcomer of the Year, doesn't necessarily have to be a freshman, by the way. Game, okay, and then the fun ones, right? Game of the Year, Play of the Year, Moment of the Year, and Performance of the Year. All right, so we'll all have the chance you'll all have the chance to vote on these. Yeah, go ahead, Eric. What's up?
Now, my concern is, last year was really good because, I mean, it was very, there was a lot of different sports that got recognized and everything. My concern is that football is going to dominate a lot of these awards. Which is fine. I get it. But I don't think it should take away from other participants' performances either.
Trust me when I tell you that it won't. And remember, this is why it's up to the fans. We're going to have the fans vote. And look, I mean, listen, I'm a believer. I'm a stubborn believer in democracy. I think that the people will make the right decision. I don't know. You guys might not be, but I'm going in on it. I'm thinking that, hey, I think that the people will actually be willing to pass out awards to non-football athletes, especially when we talk about them going forward. So we're going to hold male athlete and female athlete and Team of the Year to the end. All right. Let's see. So what we're going to start with here is Coach of the Year. All right. So this is going to be. I'm sure this will probably be a good example of this because I have a funny feeling about how the UCF fans are going to vote on this. All right. You ready? All right. Here we go. We're just going to discuss each one. I'm going to give the 4 nominees out. And then we'll just discuss each of them, and then we'll tell which one each of us are voting for. All right? So the 4 nominees for Coach of the Year are Scott Frost, football, Brian Kaneko, women's tennis, Becky Kramer in rowing, and Coach Abe, Katie Abrahamson Henderson in women's basketball.
Over Sahadak.
I'm gonna go going over. So all right. This is why we'll do this. I will let you convince me of why Tiffany Roberts-Sahadak over Coach Abe.
All right, I think Sahadak won a conference championship, led her team into
Granted,
the top 10.
regular season.
Yeah,
okay.
They won the regular season. That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
You're a top 10 team in the country. You beat North Carolina. You got a chance to host in the NCAA tournament. I think that trumps what Coach Abe did. I mean, no disrespect, but WNIT is what it is. I mean, that's not the hardest thing to accomplish. It was a nice year, so you did a great job.
This is the hard part about this is that, like, I'm limited to 4 nominees. If I could do 5, I would do 5, but I'm limited to 4. Brian, what do you think?
Why are you limited to 4?
Because of Twitter polls.
Oh, Twitter limits you to 4?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with.
So can Murph be the tiebreaker in this? Murph maybe can be the tiebreaker unless Murph wants to go off the board.
Murph, what do you think? I'll give you this. Okay, women's soccer last year. They just released their 2018 schedule, by the way. Last year they were 13-2-3, 7-0-2 in the conference. Obviously defeated North Carolina. Did not win the American Athletic Conference Tournament Championship. Won the regular season championship. Lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Women's basketball last year 22-11, 12-4 in conference. Fell in the semifinals of the American Athletic Conference Championship, got to the WNIT, advanced to the second round, and lost to Alabama there. So Murph, what say you?
And not only so, you're telling me that there's a team that won a conference championship and made the tournament, and who, if I remember correctly, their best win of the season came against a top 3 national team. Yep. So that too, I don't remember who UCF beat, but I'm pretty sure it was they competed against UConn. I remember that, but like they didn't beat anybody phenomenal that I remember. So
you know what? I stand convinced. All right, we will put Tiffany Roberts-Sahadak in as the 4th. So the 4 nominees for Coach of the Year: Scott Frost, Brian Kaneko, Becky Kramer, and Tiffany Roberts-Sahadak. So. Who are you guys going to vote for? Murph, we'll start with you.
It's by far the most interesting category of all of them for obvious reasons. And for obvious reasons, well, no, it's not obvious, but I should say I would go with Scott Frost just because he literally like put the program like on the map, and it's the program that everybody cares about and wants to care about, and they're kind of undefeated, which is kind of okay. So yeah, it's Scott Frost, but I will say you can't overlook what happened with women's tennis this year and Brian Kaneko, but it's going to be Scott Frost. It should be Scott Frost.
I think if it was a normal year, I would say Brian Kaneko for what he's done with women's tennis. We've had him on the podcast. It's remarkable, making the tournament for the first time since 2002, getting him to the NCAA tournament, win a match, get to the second round. That's phenomenal, but you can't go against a football coach that went undefeated. And I know some fans don't like to hear this, but Scott Frost was a big reason why they went undefeated and really set the program incredible year, one of the most memorable years. So I agree with Murph. You got to go with Scott Frost. It'll be interesting how the fans vote on that. Because obviously the way he left. And what's interesting is, and maybe we'll get into this later, is a bonus poll might be which former UCF coaches are UCF fans more willing to, root for? Because there's a few right now out there.
Interesting.
But, I'm going with Frost.
Okay. Here's my take on it. I think Scott Frost should win. I don't think he will. Because I still think that the fans will have quite a bit of animosity towards him for how he left. You know who I would like to see win? Becky Kramer. Head coach of the rowing team, 4 consecutive conference championships. I mean, that's, you want to talk about, if you're looking for the answer, who's the most dominant program on campus? It's rowing. And it's not close. I would say that's why if they're not going to vote for Scott Frost, well, first of all, I think vote for whoever you want for whoever you want. I hope that Becky gets some votes here because she deserves. But Brian Kaneko, man, what a job he did at women's tennis this year. By the way, I mean, let's pour one out for him too. So your Coach of the Year nominations again: Scott Frost of football, Brian Kaneko women's tennis, Becky Kramer rowing, and Tiffany Roberts-Sahadak women's soccer. All right, let's do some individual awards with athletes, and we're going to hold off on male and female athlete of the year and team of the year till the end. Let's do comeback athlete of the year. We have 3 nominees, and I reserve one spot open to see if there's any way. So comeback athlete of the year, pretty much exactly what you think it is. Somebody who maybe had some injuries, maybe struggled a little bit, finally came back, had a good year. These are my 3 nominees. I got Zakiya Saunders of women's basketball, Cree Finfrock of baseball, and Kayla Adamek of women's soccer. Eric, I will toss to you. Who would you vote for here, or did I miss anybody?
Well, let me throw this one at you.
Okay.
And this is going to hear me out on this. Mackenzie Milton, and I'll tell you why. What was you and I were at the Citrus Bowl. I'm always going to call it the Citrus Bowl, but it's now the whatever the stadium's called.
We need one of those T-shirts that they advertise. It's like I still call it the Citrus Bowl. Anyway, go ahead.
So he was at the Cure Bowl, right? And you remember how he got booed off the field, basically?
Booed off the field.
And
during the game too.
Right. And there were, I remember he had to sit out a play, and they brought in Holman, and there was this big crowd of standing ovation. And then when he came back, they booed him. And I remember, Jeff, I mean, it's so simple. I mean, we're so short-minded. There were a lot of people that wondered if he would be was he the answer at quarterback? There were a lot of skeptics.
Yeah.
And
that was one of our preseason questions. Remember, Brian?
Yes.
Yeah. And to overcome all that and to have the year that he did where he finished in the top 10 in the Heisman Trophy, I mean, that's a pretty heck of a comeback of the year there, to be a guy that, was not a fan favorite to now being the face of the program. So I would say that's a heck of a comeback to come back from that. But if you're looking for a 4th candidate, that is.
Maybe because he's not coming back from injury per se. I think what Jeff's getting at here is that a player or athlete coming back from injury. Maybe
Zakiya didn't come back from an injury either. She just had to sit out a year.
Okay. So maybe for McKenzie, because he played, played in his freshman year, he's more of maybe a breakout athlete of the year.
Okay.
But again, It's amazing how we've thought of we thought of like these nominees we thought about like a week ago. Now we're like, no, change them on the fly.
That's why we're doing this for a living. All right.
Yeah.
My vote is for Kayla Adamek. And the reason why is because she suffered first of all, it wasn't the first time that this happened either. She suffered a devastating knee injury in 2016. Came back this year. She's a redshirt senior, one of the most beloved players on the team, insanely hard worker. She missed her sophomore season due to a bad injury back in 2014. She was back in 2013. She was All-American Athletic Conference All-Rookie team, and the second leading goal scorer on the team as well. First team in 2015, the year after the injury. Last year, she was preseason All-Conference, 16 games, bang, another injury. She gets knocked out for the season, and that really, I thought, hurt UCF down the stretch. This year, Conference Midfielder of the Year, first team, started all 18 games. She was all Southeast region, 10 goals on the season. She really was a really key player on UCF women's soccer this year. I think, due respect, obviously, to all the other nominees, Cree Finfrock, I know you can talk about him a little bit, Murph, but she should be the runaway winner of the year on this. Don't you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I'll talk about Cree, but I don't know if he's should be the winner here. Cree obviously coming back from a torn labrum. He missed all of last season after, and 2 years ago he was the team's Friday night starter. Missed all of last season due to shoulder injury. Came back this year. They didn't really know what to expect out of him. They started him out in the bullpen, and he was actually dynamite in the bullpen right away from the opening series against Virginia and Rice, and he was great. They moved him into the rotation, and for a stretch there, he was their best starter. Probably the highlight of his season was he basically pitched better than Shane McClanahan at USF. When they were down there against the Bulls, but he didn't really have a fantastic season. And again, unlike with Kayla, the impact of Cree Finfrock didn't really go anywhere for this team. Like, this team ended up missing the tournament. It did underachieve for baseball. The baseball team underachieved, so I think that plays into it too. Just because that team didn't go much further, his value to what he did is not expressed as well as it could have been.
Okay, so those are your comeback athlete of the year nominees: Zacchaeus Saunders.
I go with Adam Lake, by the way, as well. I agree with you, Joe.
Cree Finfrock and Cale Adamek. All right, breakout athlete of the year. This is the one that I think that we could probably talk a little bit more about. Mackenzie Milton. He is one of the nominees, along with Traquan Smith, his teammate on football, Kaylee Jones of women's golf, who was just an outstanding performer for that team, and Zacchaeus Saunders of women's basketball. I know I got two football players in there. Feel free to talk me out of one of them for somebody else.
Ooh,
this is a tough one because we had some pretty good breakout performances this year, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Murph, I'll defer. Do you think Montgomery did make a big enough breakthrough there, or anybody there on the baseball you think should be considered on this list? Or are you comfortable with leaving the baseball guys out of this list there?
I'm fine with leaving the baseball.
Oh, come on now.
Obviously, I love J.J. Montgomery, and he was phenomenal, and at points very, very eye-opening how good he was. Like, he was extremely good, but again, that team's ultimate results kind of hurts anybody's standing as far as
I don't think it should. If JJ Montgomery was good, let's give him some credit for that, right? I mean,
I know you don't want to have two players from one sport in the same category, and even though we've got that going on right now with Traquan and Mackenzie, so if you want to put JJ in there in place of one of those two, you can.
I will actually. I'm going to use my softball card. Murph, I did this a lot last year, so I will tend from time to time use my softball card here. I will take out Traquan because Traquan, I don't know if he broke through. Everybody knew Traquan. I mean,
yeah,
we
knew he was good, but he really did have a spectacular year this year, even compared to the other years that he had.
Sure.
But play your softball card. Go for it.
I'm going to go Denali Shophocker, freshman, came in, basically took the leadoff spot, ended up being first team all conference. Played a tremendous outfield. If you're looking for a breakthrough, that's a pretty good breakthrough because nobody really thought that, she would come. And, obviously we have other awards with newcomers. I think she should be considered. But
team's leading hitter, 340, started 55 games, 12 ribbies. Yeah, okay.
So I would put her in the slot for Traquan. With that being said, I mean, obviously the winner is going to be Milton. Milton, obviously breakthrough to be a Heisman candidate, run that offense like he did. I mean, nobody thought he'd be that good. And it was obviously a big part of the reason why they had the year they had. So he's going to get the vote. But if you're looking for a new candidate, I would put Shophocker. Zacchaeus was fantastic too. I mean, without her, they would not have had the year they did. So let's
team's
throw a word
leading
out
scorer.
there.
I mean, she and obviously I'm throwing. I might throw my vote toward Kaylee Jones. Actually, I mean, just the job that she did for women's golf, leading that team in her first year. I mean, it was really outstanding. So. Zacchaeus Saunders, Kaylee Jones, Denali Shophocker, Mackenzie Milton, breakout athlete of the year. You guys are cool with that?
That's fine.
Sounds about right to me. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is a new award I wanted to put out there this year. Senior Leader of the Year. This is for a guy or gal who maybe they weren't the best player on their team. Maybe they were. But they sort of epitomized what a senior leader should be for their program. So here are my four nominees. And again, feel free. Go ahead.
can we make a disclaimer of like, can we first say like, by the way, Shaquem Griffin's not on this list.
Okay, Shaquem Griffin's not on this list. He's on a later list, however. Okay?
Right. That's the reason why.
If you're out there saying why isn't Shaquem Griffin a nominee for every award, it's because A, we didn't want him to be a nominee for every award, and B, because he's a nominee for Male Athlete of the Year. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Senior Leader of the Year. Here we go. A.J. Davis of men's basketball, Kia Bright of volleyball, Shaquan Burkett of football, and Courtney Roten of softball.
Wow, I'm going to surprise you on this one.
Okay.
I'm going to surprise you on this one. I would take out Courtney. You got to put Zakiya Saunders on this one because that's my vote.
Okay.
I've talked to Abe. Abe says she's the leader on this court. Watching her, the way she led that team vocally with the basketball, I think she should definitely be on this list. And I actually might vote for her as a senior because she's one of the best leaders I've ever seen at UCF of any sport, let alone women's basketball. And even, talking to Abe when I had a chance to do a few games for the American Digital Network, and she's like a second coach. She's like a coach on the court. I mean, she's absolutely what you would want in a senior leader.
Murph, what say you?
Yeah, I guess I'll spend my time talking about A.J. Davis because, that team, again, it was another tough season for men's basketball with just injury after injury after injury after injury. And before the season started, even AJ wasn't immune to that. He had some knee problems, at midway point of the year. I thought he was just a tremendous leader for that squad when really they needed it, especially when BJ Taylor was out. They needed someone to lead him, and he's not a rah guy at all. But his play on the floor was phenomenal. He did everything you could possibly do for that team. I thought he pretty much exemplified what this category is about. So for me, I'd lean toward AJ Davis.
Okay. All right. I'm flirting with the idea of voting for Shaquan Burkett just based on the trajectory of his career. I mean, nearly left football, decided to come back, a guy who's married with 2 kids. And that moment of him, running back that interception that basically won the game against Auburn, I can't think of, a moment in recent UCF football history that really made you more proud for a particular guy than that. Kia Bright, wow. I mean, she put the volleyball team on her back last year, much the same way that A.J. Davis did for men's basketball. But I think that Eric's right. I would probably have to vote for Zakiya Saunders in this. So Senior Leader of the Year nominees, A.J. Davis, men's basketball, Kia Bright, volleyball, Shaquan Burkett, football, Zakiya Saunders, women's basketball. I feel so bad because there's really so many people who you could nominate for these. We can only have like a maximum of 4. We're going to screw this up in a couple of ways.
Right, like Matias, we couldn't even fit in Matias from men's soccer, who was in his last year.
But again, we have him in another nominee as well. So I tried to be as equitable as I could in terms of not repeating nominees. So and that'll bear itself out toward the end here. So, all right, let's go to Newcomer of the Year. You need not be a freshman. Obviously, that's the word, newcomer. Somebody who just made a splash in their first year in their first year on campus. Here are the 4 nominees that I saw. Again, this is a category where we have 2 nominees from one sport. Mike Hughes for football. I mean, talk about what a newcomer can do, right? The 2 nominees for one sport, Christina Fisher and Anne-Marie Watson of volleyball, who were outstanding performers last year for the volleyball team. And then a really surprising one here, but shouldn't be when you look at the numbers, Rebecca Stolmar of women's tennis. Rebecca Stolmar's record this year was beyond outstanding for Brian Kaniko's team. She finished the year 21-2. 21-2 in singles. I mean, what can you say about that, right? So those are your 4 nominees. Talk me out of any of them. Newcomer of the Year. Go. Brian, who do you think?
I mean,
It's I understand all the bona fides for everybody in that list, but it's June, and if you go back 12 months, Mike Hughes still isn't on the UCF football team for another 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And in that period of time, in those last not even 10 months, just in those 5 months he was on the squad, he worked himself into being one of the stars of that defense, the author of a play that we'll talk about later in the show,
yep,
and a first-round NFL draft pick. And I just don't know how you have that much of an impact in such a short amount of time. It seems uncanny. So he gets my vote.
Lopez?
I
would throw Shoppocker in there. You could decide which one you want to take out for the reasons I mentioned earlier about her impact as a newcomer, as a freshman too. But I agree with Murph. I mean, Hughes is the winner on this one regardless. The most memorable kickoff return in the history of UCF football. I mean, to make really being that final piece in the cornerback position for that defense. That's the definition of a newcomer. What an impact.
Yeah. I want to keep. I can't emphasize enough how much Christina Fisher and Anne Marie Watson really meant to volleyball, and especially early in the season. I mean, the coaching staff just raved about the both of them, especially Anne Marie Watson, who they wanted to redshirt, and she, in practice, basically the way she played told the coaching staff, no, you're going to play me because I'm the best option that you have at this position. And she really was remarkable. So Eric, you're thinking that we should probably move one of the volleyball players out in favor of Denali Shoppocker. Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, that's the option to you. It's up to you. You can move one of those three. I mean, obviously,
no, we're deciding this by committee. If you want to balance it out, I would say you got to take one of the volleyball players out, probably. Okay, all right. Gosh, which one? I mean, Christina Fisher had the better overall year. Anne Marie Watson was really impressive. I hate doing this. But
wasn't Shoppocker? Wasn't she already in another category? Didn't we already add her?
She was in another category. Yeah, she was in Breakout Athlete of the Year.
I feel like because I think we also have Zakiya Saunders in 2 categories as well now.
We do. But I'm okay with that.
I'm just making sure.
It's up to you. I'll defer to you on this because I think at the end of the day, it won't matter as big. It's just I think Murph. I agree with Murph, and I think Hughes is going to win this. But
all right, so then let's stand pat where we are. All right. So now let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll have the events awards, including Game of the Year, Play of the Year, Moment of the Year, Performance of the Year, and then the 3 big ones: the Male Athlete and Female Athlete of the Year, and the Team of the Year. Stick around. The Bannie's nomination show here at the Black and Gold Banneret podcast will be back after this. The Black and Gold Banneret podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty. Sam Unger and his team proudly serve Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties, specializing in buying, selling, and new construction. Sam is a proud UCF graduate, class of 2006, and he's such a dedicated Knight fan that right now, if you work with him as your realtor, he will donate a portion of his commission to the UCF Football Excellence Fund in your name. So if you're ready to buy a new home or sell your current home, upgrade or downsize, Sam and his team have you covered so you can find the right home at the right price in the right location. So give him a call right now at 407-790-9957. Again, that's 407-790-9957. Or visit on the web at WeSellOrlando.net. Again, that's WeSellOrlando.net. You can also reach them on Facebook at Facebook.com/WeSellOrlando. Get in touch with the Unger Real Estate Group today and make finding your dream home a reality.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Trey Strelko. Where are we? This isn't our usual spot.
It looks like we've landed in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those guys.
You know, Nightline has UCF sports covered.
Week in and week out, we bring you interviews with newsmakers and in-depth analysis of UCF sports.
Subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to subscribe to Nightline on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Nightline.
Trace, can we go back to the 1148 studios now and start working on our next all-new Nightline?
How do we get out of here? Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now back to you guys in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
All right, welcome back to the 2018 Bannie's nomination show here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez with you, along with Brian Murphy. We went through the individual awards, except for the big individual awards in the first part of the show. Now we're going to go through we call them like the moment awards, which are the sort of the events that we're going to talk about. Again, we're going to be putting these up on Twitter. You can vote on them for the next week. The Bannie Awards will take place a week from. We're going to put it up on Thursday. I'm thinking late Thursday, June 21st is when we're going to have it. So, in the meantime, vote early, vote often, and here we go. blackandgoldbanneret.com. All right. First of these event awards, Play of the Year. Now, I know which one everyone's probably going to vote for, just due to its significance. But let's just hear out some of the other ones. We have, and again, now in this nominee show, you guys can, Brian and Eric, you guys can talk me out of one in favor of another. But I have 3 football plays and 1 baseball play. All right. The 3 football plays are Mike Hughes' kickoff return touchdown versus USF, which won the USF game and everything that was riding on that. Trey Neal's interception against Memphis to end the American Athletic Conference championship game. And Adrian Killens' 96-yard touchdown run, school record against East Carolina. Another play of the year, this one actually made the SportsCenter top 10, if I'm not mistaken. Brody Wofford's catch over the wall against Cincinnati. That one made play of the year. That one, I think, is a very worthy nominee. Eric, tell me I'm wrong on one of them. What should we swap out?
I don't know if I would swap anybody out there.
What about the triple play?
Which triple play?
The softball triple play.
Well, that was last year.
That was last year. Okay.
Last year. That would be last year.
That's right. Okay, never mind. Forget I said any of that. Go ahead.
Well, now let me ask you this: describe the definition of play? Like, for example, like the golden goal, the overtime goal that UCF scored against North Carolina, which you and I were. Would that qualify as a play of the year?
Sure, why not?
Because if you're looking for a 4th nominee, I would probably would throw that in there. I'm trying to remember men's basketball. If anything jumped out, I know the Wichita State game was wild. Murph, was there? I'm trying to remember if there was any specific plays though that jumps out.
Yeah, I was trying to think of one there too, and I couldn't think of I thought of some moments like the Alabama win or the Wichita State game in total, but there weren't like a play that stood out.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
There wasn't a spectacular dunk or a buzzer beater or any of that.
I will give you a play that maybe you could swap. I would actually, which sounds weird, I would take the Killings play out and put the play from the Navy game when the fumble. Remember the Milton had thrown the interception.
Yeah, that's a
driving.
Good. That was Bam Moore, right?
Yeah. I think that play.
That's a good one. Now I think that I still think that Christine Creighton's golden goal to beat UNC in double overtime needs to be in there. Okay. The question is, now I swapped that out for Killens' touchdown run. The question is, do we knock out the Trey Neal interception or the Brody Wofford catch for that hit?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I would try to swap out one of the football plays because otherwise this is nothing but football and it's kind of getting carried away.
Like, what's
and I'm not
the
saying-
more okay? So how do you want to? How do we argue this? Like in terms of significance, the quality of the play, like what's the bigger play? Is it Trey Neal's interception, Mike Hughes' kickoff return, or Bam Moore's tackle against Navy?
I think they're all. I mean, they're all there. I think. I mean, you can't take away the Neal play. I mean, that won the championship. I mean, that's going to be my vote. Actually, is the interception by Trey Neal, because that was the moment where you just realized you won the American Conference title and you're going to the Peach Bowl. And certainly the Hughes play is a play that everybody's going to remember that it was on that field. You and I were on the field, Murph, when that happened, and that place went bonkers. So you can't take those two plays out.
You mean the play that Sports Illustrated, the play in the game that Sports Illustrated said was like the best game of the year and whatever, all that stuff. Like, that kind of thing.
Okay, all right.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you on the Bam Moore hit, but I just don't think it dents. It dents either one of those two.
Let me also speak some piece on the Killins run.
Okay,
that was for me the moment in which, because it was early in the year against Memphis.
Right,
the moment,
Memphis,
really early, in which you saw that this team there's something different about this team, because I remember watching that run, and as soon as he cut through, he split two defenders to get out into the open, and I saw him run, and I said to myself, I'd never seen anything like that in a UCF game from a UCF player.
Yeah,
I'd never seen that sort of play, and that sort of turned me on. Like, there's something different about this team than what I had seen previously from my years of watching this team, this program. I feel like that, the play, like in the game, like it was the second quarter, it extended a lead. It was the second week of the regular season. But what that play sort of foretold, I just felt like that's the impact of that play. Like, that was really like the moment in which you realized this team was different.
Mm.
Well, you can make the argument that football play of the year maybe should be a separate category this year.
Maybe.
Maybe that's because, I mean, if I don't mention the Bam hit, I mean, that was a big deal, because that was, everybody was talking about that.
First of all, that was a great hit and a critical moment in a close game, too. So, maybe I'll put that one up there as a football play of the year, but that'll be like a separate one that we won't have as part of the awards. Whatever. We'll go rogue on that one.
I'm going to vote Trey Neal, even though I think Hughes will win the vote. I'm going to go Trey Neal, because, again, to make that interception to win because who knows if he doesn't make that play? Who knows what happens?
By the way, the thing that I think doesn't get talked about enough on that play is he's getting blocked.
Yeah.
As the play is happening, like, go back and watch that play in slow motion. He's getting picked on the play by the Memphis tight end, who puts both of his hands like right in the middle of Trey's chest, and then Riley Ferguson throws to a spot, and Trey somehow turns and picks off the ball. It's really when you watch it in slow motion, you see what is being done to Trey Neal at the instant he picks off that pass. It's an amazing play.
By the way, I have to mention this play, otherwise we're going to get killed on the message boards.
Oh boy,
Mackenzie Milton, Peach Bowl. Remember the play where he duked and threw the touchdown, and they showed the clip on television where Josh Heupel and Danny White had their jaw. I mean, that has to be brought up too. It was a
great. I mean, yes, great play. I think in the Peach Bowl, the bigger play was Jaquan Burkett's pick.
Yeah, you can make that argument too.
Right.
It's another great play, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm serious. I think you can make an argument that the football play of the year this year probably should be on a separate category, because there was a ton. I mean, that's which obviously when you have an undefeated season that happens, but there were some extraordinary plays.
This is the problem that we run into, right? Anyway,
that's a heck of a problem.
We're going to keep it. We're going to keep it to Mike Hughes' kickoff return, Trey Neal's pick, Brody Wofford's catch against Cincinnati, and Christine Creighton's golden goal against UNC. Those are our 4 nominees for play of the year.
I'm fine with it. I feel at peace because I did mention the other play, so now the message boards don't kill me.
So we're taking the Killins play out, or are we making that a separate category?
Yeah, we're taking the Killins play out.
Okay.
We're taking the Killins play out. All right. Now, maybe the message boards will kill us on this one, which is going to be moment of the year. Again, probably going to be a runaway, but here's what I've got. Football wins the Peach Bowl, completes their undefeated season against Auburn. Moment of the year. Rowing, winning its 4th consecutive American Athletic Conference title and sweeping the American. rowing championships. Women's tennis reaching the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2002. Longest on-campus drought for any sport in the NCAAs. Women's tennis finally broke through. Those are the three that I have right now. What am I missing?
I'll just say that I think the more appropriate title for this category is probably Achievement of the Year, but I understand why you went for Moment, because Moment sounds more urgent. So that's me nitpicking.
Well, I'll throw this one out there. How about, again, we talked about the Christine Creighton goal for Play of the Year. Women's soccer beating North Carolina at home.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good one. I mean, if you want to throw that one in there for Moment of the Year, the celebration afterwards, beating North Carolina, I think that's right up there. You could argue the Trey Neal play could count as that as well, because the emotion of winning the lead. I'm telling you,
we're just going to keep coming back to that, aren't we?
Where's my Q's kickoff return against USF?
Right. I mean, it's good. I mean, we're going to get killed on this, but you're right. I mean, we've had a lot of great plays. I mean, I
just think that the moment of UCF winning the Peach Bowl, beating Auburn, completing the undefeated season, completing the, dare I say, national championship season.
So is the moment when you got that interception in the end zone and you realize you're about to win the Peach Bowl? Is that what we're going to go with?
Just UCF winning the Peach Bowl.
Moment
of the year.
Can we not speak Antoine Collier's name into existence on this podcast? If we're talking about Trey Neal and Shaquan Burkett, we should also remember who had the ultimate play in that game, which was Antoine Collier making that interception.
Yeah, everyone forgets that on a broken play. And he was in the right place at the right time. And, I mean, geez, there's another one for our 8-nominee long football play of the year rogue poll that we're going to have. All right, so these are the four for Moment of the Year then. Football winning the Peach Bowl, completing the undefeated season. Rowing sweeping the American, winning their fourth straight conference title. Women's tennis reaching the NCAAs for the first time since 2002. And women's soccer beating North Carolina in 2 overtimes. Do either of you guys have a case for anything other than the Peach Bowl?
It's hard to top that.
It really is.
Yeah,
it
I
really
would have
is.
to. Yeah.
Come on. It's the biggest achievement in the biggest program on the campus. What?
We'll leave it to the fans to decide that one. As we will with all of them. Now, performance of the year. This can be a team or an individual or just someone rises to the occasion, usually right when it's needed, and puts together a virtuoso performance. Here are my 4 nominees. Shaquem Griffin in the Peach Bowl had his best performance of the year. I think he had 2.5 sacks and 12 tackles. Is that right? Murph, something like that. All I know is that he was all over the place in that game. And it was I thought his best game as a UCF Knight, in his final game as a UCF Knight. The women's doubles team of Maria Martinez and Ksenia Kuznetsova reaching the NCAAs in doubles as a team. UCF making the NCAA doubles tournament. After the great year that they had. Their performance all year is up there. Excuse me. Men's golf finishing second in the NCAA regionals, going minus 30 relative to par. That's the second lowest score to par in school history. And this is one of my favorites. Now, I'm so glad we got this one on there. Gabby Durant of women's track and field setting a school record in the hammer throw with a throw of 200 feet and 6 inches. Now, we don't see school records being happening very often, but the Gabby Durant one's my favorite because track and field never gets enough love. The field events never get enough love in terms of track and field. I want to vote for Gabby Durant. Are there other performances that you think that we should trade one of these out for, and who are you guys voting for? Brian, we'll start with you.
No, I agree with you, Jeff. Because at some point, you're sort of sick of lauding the football program.
I don't want to be. I don't want that to
Wow.
be the reason. I want that to be because Gabby
Come on.
Durant earned it, and she earned it with that throw. School record, man.
Right, and again, it doesn't get enough respect. No respect. You're right. You're right, though. By the way, I looked it up. Shaquem had 12 tackles, 6 solos, 6 assists, 1.5 sack, 3.5 tackles for loss.
1.5 sacks. Okay. I was close.
But regardless, you're right. It's a school record, which is in any sport, in any discipline, it's pretty big news. It's just a major accomplishment that doesn't get enough respect. So I feel just for hey, just a little bit, just recognize it a little bit. So I'm cool with that. Shaquem was great, but he's also nominated for 3 other awards for this thing. And so
including
at
one that
some
we're going
point,
to get to here in a second.
Titanic didn't win everything it was nominated for in 1997. I don't think UCF football needs to either.
Eric?
Seemed that way. I will throw a nomination.
Okay.
Aaliyah White, UCF against Florida, number 4 ranked team in the country, 1,236 record crowd at the complex. Throws a one-hit shutout to beat Florida 1-0. Becomes only the 3rd pitcher ever to shut out Florida. 2nd in the complex, 1st win for UCF in 6 years, and she shut him down to a one-hitter. No UCF pitcher's ever given up fewer hits against Florida than Aaliyah White in front of a record crowd. And she said to her team prior to the game, as they were training and doing weights, "We got this game tonight." She called her shot. She gets the win. I would put her on the list. I would take the men's golf team because that's more of a team, great team, and they could be on the team of the year type of conversation. But as far as individual performances, I would put her in there and take out the men's golf.
Okay. All right. You know what? I agree with you, Eric. There you go. So Aaliyah White on Performance of the Year, her one-hit shutout against Florida in front of a sold-out crowd. All right, here we go, boys. This is the big 3. Male Athlete of the Year, Female Athlete of the Year, and Team of the Year. We're going to start ladies first because we're gentlemen like that. Female Athlete of the Year. Here are your 4 nominees right now. Talk me into or out of any of them. Who do you vote for? All right, here we go. Kaylee Jones of women's golf. Rosie Chamberlain of cross-country track and field. Morgan Ferrara of women's soccer. And Kia Bright of volleyball. Am I missing anybody?
Well, again, Aaliyah was finished in the top 10 in the country in wins, through a top 10 in innings pitch. So I think you could make an argument for her to be on that list. My vote goes towards Morgan, though, because that was the big thing. It seemed like when UCF women's soccer was rolling, the hashtag would be Mo Goals, right? More goals with Morgan Ferrera, who was the player of the year, an amazing offensive weapon. So I would vote for her for Female Athlete of the Year.
By the way, beloved person in the entire UCF athletic department, and with good reason. Morgan is just an unbelievable person. I hear you on the Aaliyah White thing and what she did for softball. I guess the hard part is who do you replace on that list?
Well, what's the list again?
Kaylee Jones in women's golf, Rosie Chamberlain of cross-country track and field, Kia Bright of volleyball, Morgan Ferrara of women's soccer.
Well, I think it's going to be a White versus Kia Bright debate. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
All right, let me make the case for Kia Bright here in UCF volleyball. Now, mind you, this is a year after Jayla Hervey, who had a 500 kill season, left for UCF, and we know that what Kia Bright did individually coming back from the injuries that she had. This year, in 34 matches, all of them starts, she put up 489 kills to go on 1,351 attempts, 255 percentage, and really was a spectacular senior leader for UCF volleyball in a season that was really kind of an up and down season, but UCF finished still with 20 wins. But she still completed But she kept UCF really going throughout the entire year. Very young team for UCF volleyball this year. They relied on a number of freshmen in the regular lineup, and she provided the leadership, not to mention that you could just run the offense through her the entire time. What say you, Brian Murphy? We'll make you be the tiebreaker.
Well, let me throw my case before Murph votes. I mean, my case for Aaliyah is 25 wins. UCF had 34 as the team. 25 of the 34 with Aaliyah White through 266 innings, top 5 in the country in innings pitched, top 20 in wins, top 20 in shutouts. I mean, she carried the pitching staff big time and got them into position. She beat Florida, top 3 in the American Conference, which finished top 4 in the country in college softball and in conference rankings, made all region, made all conference. That's my case.
Kia Bright, by the way, 4th in the American in kills per set, I should say, at 3.85. Her 489 total was 2nd in the conference overall behind Emily Thorson of Tulsa. What say you, Brian Murphy?
I like Eric's case for Aaliyah, but have we decided whether or not are we moving her into this category?
Well, that's what you're deciding. You're deciding. You're the tiebreaker.
Yeah, it's up to you. Don't screw it up.
I'm deciding that. Oh, goodness gracious. No. I mean, look, I love it, but I don't want to take anybody out of this category. I think they're all really well deserving. And so my pick's probably Morgan Ferrara, just for what she did for that team. And I like people that are good people. And I know that sounds vague, but like you say, like she's like the most well-liked person. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. So we're going to go with that.
So wait, are you keeping Kia Bright in and not putting in Aaliyah White? Is that what you're doing? What are you doing?
See now we've got a problem.
Yeah,
because
see,
Eric's gonna get mad at me.
Oh man, I'll tell you.
Dang, come on! I thought you falling bad. I thought you'd have our back, man.
I love everybody.
See, okay, so here's the other issue that we run into. So Rosie Chamberlain, right? Track and field. Let's see, I just had her up on the roster. Okay, here she is. Rosie, by the way, senior from Exeter, England. All right. 6 top 10 finishes in indoor. Husker Invitational, she finished first in the 800 meters with a 2:10.05. American Athletic Conference Indoor Track and Field Scholar Athlete of the Year. First in the 800 meter in the Black and Gold Challenge. By the way, the 800 meter is an insanely hard race. Pepsi Relays, top 10 finish in the 800 meter with a season best of 2:05.46 at the most prestigious event that UCF participated in. Made it to the NCAAs. So, I'm tempted to swap out Aaliyah White, unfortunately, Rosie with Aaliyah. What do you think?
I know Eric loves it.
I'm all for it as long as Aaliyah's on the list. All right,
All
right. My apologies to Rosie Chamberlain. Aaliyah. All right, we'll put Aaliyah White in this
Blame Twitter for only giving us 4 seconds.
And listen, I'm fully. I will accept. By the way, if people reply back with more Rosie Chamberlains than anyone else, then Rosie Chamberlain gets the award, like write-in votes.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
All right. So
you should put that in the post. You should be like, "There's also write-in candidates available, and here who they are."
That's what we'll do. All right. Here we go. This is Best Picture right here. This is it. We won't let Warren Beatty screw up the envelope here. This is the big award. This is Team of the Year. All right, these are the 4 nominees I have written down, and we'll finalize them based on what you guys think is the right thing to do. We will do. Here's what we got: men's golf, women's tennis, football, and rowing.
It's a good list. I mean, especially with, just what I know about rowing and tennis.
Rowing and women's tennis and football have to be on there. I think that the one you could debate is men's golf. They finished second, got to the NCAA finals tournament for the second year in a row. And and did so in a very scrappy fashion too. They the way they made their way through, but I don't know, Lopez. What do you think?
I want to make the argument for women's soccer, but I can't really take anybody out there. I think the early loss, unfortunately, to Washington State, right, keeps them out of this list, right? Like if they would have gone deeper in the NCAA tournament, they're probably on this list. But because they lost in the opening round of the NCAA tournament, like I can't take men's golf out. They had an incredible postseason.
Yeah.
Same with rowing. So unfortunately for them, that would be the only other team I would consider in the argument. But obviously, men's golf had a great postseason. I mean, that's a heck of an accomplishment in the regionals, and the rowing winning the conference championship.
Fourth consecutive conference championship, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then women's. Yeah, no, I think those are the four. That's the four.
Brian?
Yeah, I agree with that. I wanted to bring up a bit of a related thing about, like, did you guys see the tweet that UCF Knights put out today about how UCF is one of only 4 FBS schools to have a winning record in every head-to-head sport, basically every sport which you faced an opponent. It was Texas, Oklahoma State, FSU, and UCF.
Wow.
Only those 4 programs in the FBS. Every program in a head-to-head sport had a winning record. So as we're talking about great teams of the year, there are a lot of good UCF teams this past year, and it's pretty phenomenal. My vote goes for football.
Okay. All right, Eric.
Yeah, football's getting the vote. Yeah,
football's going to get the vote. Yeah, I
will say this: if football's a separate category,
which at this point,
which it's not, by the way. But anyway,
at this point, it's its own award show. It's a separate award show.
But no, here's an interesting question: if we took football, football is the winner. Football's going to win this vote. They're the pick, obvious pick, no doubt. Let's say football was not in this equation. Who would get the vote? Because I think it's a tough one to pick, right? Like rowing with the dominance, but then women's tennis coming out of nowhere to make the NCAAs for the first time in 60 years, and then men's golf with you mentioned their performance in the NCAA tournament.
If it wasn't for football, my vote, like if we had ranked choice voting, right, I would go with women's tennis. I think that the way that team performed all year, the coming out of nowhere to go to the NCAAs for the first time for that program in 16 years. Brian Kaneko, man, what a job!
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
all right.
That would, but that said, my vote is going to go for football. But
obviously, yeah,
I'm always open to having my mind changed. Anyway, all right, so there you have it. So we will put these all up on Twitter.
Was that it? Really?
That's
that was
it.
Wow. All right. So can I bring up 2 bonus awards categories, however you want to describe it? Idea.
Oh my God! Can I tell you guys one thing? I totally forgot one award.
I thought that we were short.
We are short. We were short one award. All right. So then this will be like, you know what? I can't believe it. I pulled a Warren Beatty.
We didn't vote for Mel
screw
did we?
So you did screw it up, Warren Beatty.
I did screw it up. No, we and you know what? We didn't do. Yeah, actually, there's 2 of them. Yeah, that's right. So, okay, male athlete of the year. We forgot male athlete of the year because I'm an idiot. Now, Brian and Eric, I told you that we'd have our opportunity for Shaquem Griffin. Boom, here he is. He's the first nominee. I've got Mackenzie Milton as a nominee. I've got Matthias Puzzolo of men's soccer as a nominee. And interestingly enough, try this one. A 2-man team, the doubles team of Eero Vasa and Corey Lovett of men's tennis, who made the NCAA doubles championship. I think this is a slam dunk for Shaquem Griffin. Due respect to all the others.
Yeah, because it's not only about, like, by the way, he's a great player on the field. By the way, he's also the face of the program and a really awesome guy off the field, and like his story became national. And he's
going to be the face of the athletic program for years to come.
Yeah,
like think about a guy like who's the face of an athletic, like one athletic program that just is just synonymous with someone like, you say, like Vince Young at Texas,
Christian Laettner
at Duke. Like Shaquem Griffin is that kind of guy for UCF.
Yeah. I mean, he was the dominant storyline in the draft. A lot of UCF fans were interested where he was going to go. I think you can make the argument that his number or he should be honored, recognized. I think it's no brainer. This is the year that he defined. And I'm going to defer to is Mark Daniels, who has a Heisman Trophy vote, voted for Shaquem Griffin, not Mackenzie Milton, and because of all the intangibles that he brings to the table. So who better than the voice of football and the voice of UCF athletics?
I'll tell you who.
Good
us.
enough for him. Nah, I defer to Mark on that one. I'll defer to Mark.
Fair point.
I think as much as, and even if we took out all of the things that happened after the season when his profile really took off, like, and if we just keep it like on the field, stats based, results based, like, yeah, Shaquem's still the winner.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good of a season he had. That's how much of an impact he had on the field during the season. Like, he's still the winner.
Right.
They don't win the Peach Bowl without him. He was the best player on that field. If I take him out of that field, I don't think they win that game at all.
My favorite moment from him, by the way, this year was when he picked up that fumble against Austin Peay and he did the Adrian Killens breaking the tape celebration as he ran the ball into the end zone. That's my favorite moment of the entire year. Let's get up there.
There you go.
All right. And here's the last one that we had. And guys, this is no doubt going to spark some debate. Game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just the way I like to think about this is like, okay, if we could put this one on DVR and keep it forever, which one would we keep? All right, I've got 3 nominees. I need a 4th one. And interestingly enough, one of them is basically 2 games. All right. First one is football defeating USF 49-42 in the War on I-4, a game that was watched by pretty much the entire country. Number 2, football defeating Memphis in the American Athletic Conference Championship game in a 62-55 overtime, just monstrous game. Here's the two for one. Baseball beating number 1 Florida back-to-back nights. Boy, that seems like it was a long time ago, but hey, they beat the number 1 team in the country back-to-back nights. Those are the 3 that I have right now. Now, Lopez, I'm tempted to add the Aaliyah White game against Florida too. But
yeah,
talk me out into something else.
Well, you have that game, and then UCF women's soccer over North Carolina. I mean, I think those are the 2 other games that jumps out. Again, this is why do we really need to like complain to Twitter or something? We need more than 4 categories.
I know.
Nominee. I mean, I think the UCF Florida softball now. Do you try to combine them with baseball as a hey, baseball and softball beating Florida, and that way you throw it, you can add in the women's soccer against Carolina? Do you want to do that?
I think if we're going to do a single game and we talk about significance, I would say that we would add women's soccer and we would add softball and we would drop baseball. Murph, what do you think?
Wow.
I'm fine with that. Like, it's not like I'm really defensive about baseball. I really am kind of I've slammed baseball this entire podcast. I've just realized, like, I really undersold.
You need to be nice. Lovelady might not let you back in the building next year if he hears.
I know. Eric, I still want to talk to Lovelady about next year's WrestleMania when the time comes. I hope he's going to let me do this. I hope he doesn't hear this.
All right, this is how we'll defend. This is how I can defend dropping the baseball. It was a midweek. It's a Wednesday. It wasn't a weekend series. Like, if they would have
still the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, but it's a midweek, and that's probably what hurts it. If you're gonna, I mean, we have to take somebody out. I'm not saying I'm in favor of, I would think we should be 5, but I mean, the women's softball was a big deal. They threw their All-American Ocasio, UCF threw White. There was no, Florida didn't throw their ace. They didn't throw Singer, as their ace.
No,
and the women's soccer game, that was
Now, Florida did throw a freshman. I forgot his name, but Florida did throw a freshman who in a couple of years will probably be in the top 10 in the MLB draft. And I don't say that facetiously. Like, that's kind of what he's going to be. But those games, the home and home against Florida, like, unlike the North Carolina game in soccer and in the Florida game on softball, like, they were fine games and the victories were big, but the games themselves weren't
they weren't anything great. Yeah, they weren't anything great.
They weren't like edge of your seat stuff.
In fact, I left the Florida game. It was a drag. I remember that because I think we did a podcast where I ripped the length of baseball games because that game just kept going and going and going.
Yeah, you were pretty. You were pretty ripe after that one. I remember that.
So yeah, I was. So I don't. Yeah, I kind of agree with Murph. I think It's the 2 football games. It's UCF Florida softball, because that was dramatic. That was, if you were in that building that night, I mean,
it was a
pitch
great game.
mattered. It was.
That women's listen. Let's not take away from that women's soccer game either, where they fell down. They were down 1-0 and came back and won the game. So,
I agree with you, Jeff. I mean, if this was a normal year, that would probably be my vote for game of the year. That was an incredible game, incredible match. But it is not a normal year, so that's why football wins. And now that's the other debate.
Yeah,
which football game gets the win, right? Like,
right.
It's the USF.
Is it USF? Is it Memphis? Or do we switch one of those out for the Auburn game?
Mr. Cotter. Mr. Cotter, Mr. Cotter, Mr. Cotter.
Go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
That Memphis game wasn't great. Is that an unpopular opinion? Because it really wasn't.
That is hot. That is hot takery at its worst, right there.
It absolutely wasn't, because it was really messy and a ton of blown coverages.
That's what was great about it. It was so flawed.
No, I hate that. Why? Wait, it was.
Wait, gonna tell me? Are you saying that you would Peach Bowl? Or are you saying you would take the Peach Bowl over that game?
No, I wouldn't say I would take another football game over that game. But if we're talking about the merits of a great game, it was a great game because it went 2 overtimes and it wouldn't end, and it got a lot of points on the board, but also a lot of points on the board because those defenses were god awful.
But let me defend that game for a second.
Mackenzie Milton did not play well. He had put up a ton of he put up an obscene stat line. Mackenzie Milton had an obscene stat line for that game. He also played pretty not well for what he usually has done. He almost threw that game away. People forgot he should have thrown that game away. He threw an interception in the middle of the field that should have ended the game and didn't.
Let me defend that game for a second.
I actually agree with Murph. I think it's the USF game. It's the game of the year by far.
Yeah.
Even though the Memphis game had more, I guess, based on a conference title game, but the USF game, I just love the storyline of that game. First of all, I don't even know if we did best. If we did a category for best performance that we saw, I mean, Quentin Flowers was maybe the best performance I've ever seen anybody play in that field.
I'm not going to have any opponents on this podcast, and I'm certainly not going to have USF guys. Sorry.
He was remarkable. I think he made USF really a better team than they actually were. And the back and forth in that game, the environment in that stadium, it was packed. UCF fans, USF fans, the back and forth. It was
the nightlights thing going on. Yes. Black Friday rivalry game. It's amazing.
Right. And remember when Flowers hit the deep pass and then they hit the touchdown, and everybody and then the 2-point play, which was remarkable, and everybody's in shock. And then you had the kick return it was incredible.
It was everything. Your boy Adam Amin on the call, who was just doing some amazing calls.
Yes. In Sports Illustrated made it the game of the year. So who's going to argue with that?
I will. I will defend the Memphis game.
Oh.
Let's not forget that UCF in this game at one point trailed at halftime. All right.
After blowing a big lead.
After blowing a big lead, they trailed it. They did trail at halftime, and I was thinking, oh my God, is this how it's going to end? UCF comes back. They take a 14-point lead. Granted, they blow that, but there was that moment when the game was tied at 48. All right, and you guys were there too, where Memphis has the ball in the fourth quarter. The game is tied, and they are marching down the field with under 2 minutes to go, and all of a sudden they get to the UCF 25-yard line.
Right.
And I'm sitting here thinking, this is it. This is the end. This is how it all comes crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you did that. Well,
and then all of a sudden.
Well, to be fair, Jeff thought it was all coming crashing down when they didn't blow out, every team they faced. Back in October, it was we didn't beat Cincy by 1,000. It's coming crashing down.
Yeah, I bit my nails down to the quick the morning of the UConn game. So who am I to talk? But okay. They're down at the 25-yard line, and I'm thinking, this is it. This is a chip shot field goal, and it's going to be over. And and everything we hoped would happen is not going to happen. And then all of a sudden, there was a penalty for an illegal block on that play. So they're at the 35. Rush for a loss of 3. Incomplete pass. Timeout with 39 seconds. Incomplete pass again. Then there was that wild sequence with the field goal where where UCF blocked the field goal from what was it, 46, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't count because there was a delay of game. So Memphis actually had another shot at the field goal. They wipe off the blocked field goal. And for a second they were thinking, oh my God, kick 6. UCF might have a shot here, like one more shot with a Hail Mary. Memphis ends up getting another shot. They miss the field goal again. It was Riley Patterson, not Riley Ferguson, who missed the field goal from 51, and then we go to overtime. And then God knows what's going to happen in overtime. And, of course, obviously, Trey Neal with the interception. But there were a couple of moments in that game where I thought it was actually even closer to where UCF was even further on the brink than the USF
entirely.
game. You disagree?
Disagree.
Well, I disagree with that.
Disagree strongly.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I never felt the kicker was going to make the kick. I mean, they kind of blew that. And you actually kind of made Murph's argument for him because those are a lot of miscues were made in that play. The beauty of the USF game was great plays were being made. The Memphis game, both teams kept shooting themselves in the foot. That's why, and I hate the overtime rule. I thought it was ridiculous. It turned into a freaking video game.
I love college overtime, and you can't convince me otherwise.
So now I will. I mean, if people are going to argue that the Peach Bowl should be on the list, no, I actually thought the Peach Bowl was not a great game at all.
It was one of the most bizarre games I've ever seen. Just especially as poorly as UCF played in the first half, and to still win the game.
I don't think either team played well, quite frankly. I don't think it was that great of a game. It's just because UCF won. It was huge and it was exciting. If UCF would have lost, I don't think anybody even remembers that game.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget, Auburn really wasn't focused on that game.
Right. Yeah. They weren't ready to play. Blah 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 blah.
Just
Twitter.
like UCF wasn't ready against Arkansas State, but whatever.
Right.
Whatever. But no, I the bottom line is I think the Memphis game is better than the Peach Bowl, but USF game by far is better than the American Conference time. It's not even, and I've thought about it for a while, having been to both, and I just think more people are going to remember the USF game. I mean, obviously the rivalry helps, knowing what was at stake. I mean, the winner of that game probably was going to win the American Conference title anyway. You could argue that maybe Memphis would have beaten USF, but that was the biggest game in the history of USF football. It's the most crushing loss in that program's history, and it's one of the UCF's biggest triumph wins of all time. It was just unbelievable with plays that we may never see again. We may never see a kickoff return like that ever again. We'll see multiple overtime games, 62-55 again. Trust me.
But I think, and I just want to follow that up real quickly. Like when you're watching Quentin Flowers play, and in the third quarter, when USF takes the lead in that game, and you're watching him, and they go like, oh, by the way, they can't stop him. Like they just can't. Like no matter what, they can't stop him from running or throwing. He was on track, and he might. I mean, I know he's had some records, but he was on track to like blow up a ton of records. Like in the second quarter, like he's gonna crush everything because he was putting up amazing stats.
He had 605 total yards as an individual.
Right, and you can
102 running, 503 passing.
And again, this is where like the box scores lie to you because like he was so good. He was so good in that game. And then you can look at Mackenzie Milton's box score for the Memphis game, which is like he's got more than 500 yards as well. And he wasn't nearly in the same ballpark as what Quentin Flowers was that week before. Right. Like it's different. It's different performances all around. And so all I'm saying is like when UCF got down with Quentin Flowers like just ravaging them, I really thought there's no way they're going to win this game because they can't stop him.
Yeah.
Well, and how about the fact that when USF scored in the opening possession, it set the tone. Like you were on the edge of your seat right from the get-go. Like you weren't going to step out. Whereas the UCF Memphis games, there were times I remember I was doing stats for the radio broadcast for IMG, and I remember at one point in the first half we were thinking UCF's going to blow them out. And remember there was that fumble. That was that fumble that UCF had that gave Memphis the short field to get them right back in the game. So there were times where I thought UCF was going to blow Memphis out of the field, and a couple of times, and they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Look, it was an exciting game. Don't get me wrong. It was a great finish.
And I got news for you. It looked like it was going to be a blowout at one point in the USF game too, because UCF led that game 21-7 after one quarter of play. But then after McCants had that opening touchdown, UCF scored 3 straight touchdowns in the first quarter.
Sure.
Bam, 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 and then it's 21-7 after one. You're like, oh man, this might be. This might get out of hand.
But then Flowers got going in that second quarter, and they got right back. And then at that point, you're like, uh-oh, game on. And that was a magic. I had everything. It was just unbelievable plays that I don't think we'll ever duplicate again. I mean, that was just and by the way, it had more TV viewers. Sports Illustrated's Game of the Year. And I do agree with Murph. Adam Amin added a lot. Like, if you watch that game again, you still get excited about it. Nothing against Steve Levy and the crew. They did a fine job for the conference title game. But the goosebumps that Adam brings to that telecast was phenomenal. And with the storyline, Scott Frost was the storyline. And I think something that takes away from the Memphis game, I think, to some fans was that was also the same day that Scott Frost, basically, resigned right after the game, which makes it the most bizarre day in the history of the program. You just won the American Conference title game. I'll never forget. Murph, you and I were there. They win the title game. They're celebrating the conference title game. And I remember Mike Bianchi asked him the question about what's your future or something. And he's like, I got to talk to the players or whatever. And so we're all hanging out. And the next thing we know, we find out, hey, guys, we're going to have another press conference here shortly.
Well, I remember I was watching the game. I couldn't be there in person, but I was watching the game on TV, covering on the live blog. And I think it was at the very tail end of regulation, or was it in the overtime session? I can't remember. I'll have to go back and look. That Brett McMurphy broke the news during the game.
That's right.
And there was obviously that earned a lot of consternation on Twitter. I don't know who was in control of leaking that news at the time, but there was that moment where I think Steve Levy was actually announcing that, guys, this is happening. Scott Frost, this will be his last game at UCF, or so we think. Now, lo and behold, the Peach Bowl was, of course, but it was just, I don't know, man. It was just such a bizarre. You're right. It was such a bizarre day. Just the range of emotions. I think elevates that day, that game in particular. Just the back and forth, the range of emotions, the complexity of those emotions. I mean, for me, kind of does it. I mean, but then again, that's not to say that the USF game wasn't emotional. I mean, Lord knows it was.
Well, I'll never forget the USF game after they won. There was that rumor about him meeting with Florida he was supposedly going to meet with Florida that weekend.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the team. And I think Shaquem Griffin gave him a signed football to that team. And that was such a symbolic moment and the emotions of that USF game.
Okay.
Because that week, I remember about that week, and Murph, you were there in the presser. Remember when Scott was not happy with the way the schedule played out, where UCF had the shorter week compared to USF.
Mm-hmm.
USF had played. So the tone was set like early in the week with, whereas I remember the Memphis game, that was a weird week because you were at that presser where Scott Frost basically almost stopped short of saying, yeah, this is probably going to be it for me, right? Like, it was a very bizarre week in where a lot of the focus was Scott Frost in Nebraska, whereas the USF game, just everybody was locked in on that game. And I think that's why I think that game will be remembered more from a UCF fan standpoint and from an exciting standpoint, just because, I mean, that thing was tense from the get-go when Scott Frost was like, I don't think it's right that they had they had a scheduling advantage and all that stuff. And it was just wild. It was just an amazing time either way, those 2 week period.
What a year, man! What a year for all the sports that we've had right there. So
have we decided how that category is going to play out? Because I hate to bring us back. This is a great recap of the 2017 season.
This is what I've got.
Okay.
Game of the year nominee. This really is our final award. I went back. We didn't skip anything, so we've got it all.
So we don't have any like performance of the year or anything like that. We've got everything, right?
Yeah,
we've done everything.
Football defeating USF 49-42.
Yeah.
Football defeating Memphis to win the American 62-55 in overtime.
Ooh.
Softball defeating UF 1-0 with a one-hit shutout from Aaliyah White.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
record
record crowd. And women's soccer defeating North Carolina 2-1 in double overtime.
I agree with that.
All right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And with that, we
all
have.
Right, so can I throw in
your
bonus things?
Okay.
Can I do 2 bonus Bannies here?
Okay.
Lifetime Achievement Award. You know how they have that in the Oscars, right, for career achievement and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Can we create a Bannies Lifetime Achievement where every year
It's our awards. We can do whatever the heck we want.
We honor somebody. It could be a player, it could be a coach, it could be somebody that works at UCF for their long, their work, right? They're in their respective sport or for the university. So, like, for example, I think there could be a Lifetime Achievement Award this year would be to Coach Gillespie for the 18 years of service as a UCF employee and what she's done for the softball program. That would be my example.
Okay.
We could call it the Manny Messenger Bannie, like
Manny Messenger, yeah. We should do that. Like, who would we? Okay, here's a fun over/under. How many years until Scott Frost gets his lifetime lifetime achievement Bannie?
Oh boy,
probably do it now, should you? Probably a few months late.
2 years, yeah, that's gonna be a hard sell. Some people may not be a fan of that one.
Yeah,
but that does segue that to my other bonus category, all right? Because part of the storyline this year is, Scott Frost left for Nebraska. You got Renee leaving for Iowa. So you got 4 coaches, right, that I think people, I don't know if you want to, this is the category. I don't count Rooney. I think nobody's rooting for Rooney as an assistant. So, but are UCF fans more likely to root for Scott Frost at Nebraska, Kirk Sparrow at Iowa, Renee at Iowa, or Amanda Cromwell at UCLA?
Based on what I think so.
Am I missing anybody? I mean, do you want to include I don't think people are rooting for Donnie Jones at Wichita State or Harry Rudy at Houston.
No, they are definitely not. I'm going to say that Kirk's going to win that one.
Kirk?
Yeah, no, Kirk is beloved. Like, he's still beloved. Where is my Kirk's Jerks t-shirt? It's still around.
I think that should be a bonus. I think you should throw that in there as a bonus category, okay. Jeff. I'm very curious about that. I'm very curious how fans feel about that.
All right, that's what we'll do then.
We know who's not going to win that.
Yeah, we know who's not going to win.
But I am very interested if people would vote because Cromwell is very beloved in the women's soccer fans. Renee's beloved in the softball fans. I think you're right. I think Kirk, there's something about Kirk that fans still have that attachment to. And then, I think there will be people that will follow Scott Frost for better or for worse. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, I'm fascinated how fans would feel about that. So, I think that should be a bonus category just for this year anyway.
All right. We've got, all right, so we've got it done then. All right, we will make sure. I'm going to be posting these polls on our Twitter heading into the weekend. I will also have a page on blackandgoldbanneret.com where you will find all of these polls. The final results will be tabulated before our next show, which will be next week, and we will announce the Bannie Award winners. In the meantime, gentlemen, we do have some content up on the site. Eric Lopez, you've been quite busy this week. What do you have on tap?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go to Banneret, I've done some multiple things. Obviously, with Coach Gillespie leaving for Iowa, kind of I don't know, Jeff, would you call this a tribute? Kind of I don't know how to describe it, but we got some multiple features up.
Say some tribute, some reaction, some.
Yeah. Very unique. I did a top 25 games list of all time in UCF softball in the Gillespie era, ranking I thought the most memorable and exciting and meaningful games in her era. And then I did this because I got so much overwhelming reaction on my phone and on my social media when the announcement was made on Friday. We broke it on Black and Gold Banneret and all that, from former players and coaches across the country reacting to Coach Gillespie leaving in Iowa. So I decided, with their permission, to publish some of it just to get an idea. And so one of the things that's out is reaction from coaches across the country. Like Patrick Murphy, for example, the Alabama head coach, was in the press release for Iowa. So that quote's in there. I was able to get a quote from arguably Renee's biggest nemesis, if you will, Ken Erickson, the USF head coach, who had a nice thing to say in there as well. We also had reaction from other coaches in the sport, as well as former UCF coach Kirk Sparrow's reaction on Twitter to, and I thought a very touching, and I think you can talk about this, Jeff, because you know him very well. I put in Todd Dagenet's tweet about Renee, which was very revealing about how much Renee meant to Todd and how she helped him when he first arrived at UCF. I thought was very revealing stuff. So I think that was some good stuff that's in there we have. And also a lot of former players chiming in with their thoughts on Renee and the impact they've made. Some great quotes in there, including Samantha McCloskey, who spoke from the heart just how much Renee meant to her, some of the other great UCF players. That's also going to be up on Black and Gold Banneret.
Cool. Murph, what you been up to?
Oh, things. Stuff with life. I'm sure there's things. Back to you, Jeff.
Wow.
Listen, you're taking a well-deserved breather. By the way, I don't know if you're how much you've been doing with the Sentinel of late ever since that regional finished up in DeLand. But I just wanted to say, well done on the work that you've done for the Sentinel covering UCF baseball and the Stetson regional. That was really fun seeing you get that opportunity to do that. So I hope that they call upon you much more in the future going forward. So job well done on that stuff.
Thanks, yeah.
I've been working on some football analytics. I'm calling it kind of summer football study hall, where I've worked on some analytics where I'm breaking UCF football's season down by possession. Actually, I went back 5 years into UCF football and analyzed the football team's performance by possession. We looked at I looked at the offense this past week. You can check that out at blackandgoldbanneret.com. I'm working on the defense this week as well. So hopefully we'll have a few more of those interesting little bits in a little bit, and we'll do a little bit more statistical analysis so you can be numerically prepared for the upcoming 2018 football season, which is less than 100 days away. I think it's what, 80 somewhere around?
No, it's like 74. I think.
74 days away. Wow.
Something like that.
Gosh, this is happening fast. All right, so that'll do it for the Bannie Awards nomination show here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. For Eric and Brian, guys, thank you so much. It's been fun. We'll have the awards show next week. Make sure to bring the black tie stuff because it's a serious event here. We're going to have a red carpet and everything. And thanks also to Sam Unger and the Unger Real Estate Group for their support all throughout the season. WeSellOrlando.net is where you want to go for Orlando real estate. Follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com, UCF_Banneret on Twitter, Facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret. For Brian and Eric, I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. We'll catch you for the Bannie Awards next week.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.